Well folks, as you know from last week, there was no new pony episode, and many of us took advantage of that. I mean, after a week of having some rest, and for many of us with a Wii U, playing the Splatoon Global Test Fire events and catching up on some sleep, or doing a clean out, trading in some games at EB and picking up a new 3DS XL. So this morning, apart from all of that and all the rest, the 7th episode of the new season, titled Make New Friends But Keep Discord When to Air. Now, unlike Appaloosa's Most Wanted, which aired 2 weeks ago and left a very bitter and very sour taste in some fans' mouths, this episode was overwhelming in response to the fandom and the Brony community in general. Now, this is due to the return of former villain Discord and an introduction of a brand new character, which I'll get into in just a moment. Okay, with that out of the road, here we go. So, why am I going to make my predictions and thoughts at the start? I'm about to tell you. So, in summary, this episode was cute, entertaining, heartwarming, groovy, amazing, and tree hugger. Peace. Okay, now I know this may sound a little short on the short end in terms of a reaction to an episode, but this what sums it up for me. Now, there isn't much more to say about it other than those 5 words in my post that I made on my post-episode tweet this morning. Now, this may not be the end of the story for me, but this was a huge improvement over Appaloosa's Most Wanted and the disaster that happened 2 weeks ago. Now, there were no last minute changes to the synopsis and throwing Furies out the window. There was no flat characters, thank goodness, or a completely different story, and certainly no interference from the outside with real world events creeping in. It is your standard run-of-the-mill episode, supercharged to 110% and then some. Now, for those who aren't in the loop, of course being away for 2 weeks you tend to forget about the episodes and their airing dates. This episode centres around Discord, who is having a little bit of trouble trying to make some new friends. And that's after having 3 or so heel turns, as they say in the wrestling trade, in the space of 5 years. Now, this episode also featured Fluttershy and a brand new character called Tree Hugger, an Earth pony who is a little groovy at times. Now, I actually liked this character when I saw the previews a few days before the episode went to air, and it pretty much confirmed a fan favourite like Coco and Maud when the episode went to air this morning. Now, I don't know if it was the personality, the style, or just the thought of a 1960s or 70s hippie girl complete with flowers and vocal tones, but she made me squealing like a fangirl inside, and that's no joke about that. Now, while there has been some positive thoughts about her, there have been some objections to how she is portrayed outside of the show in form of fan art and reactions, but I won't go into full detail due to rules and regulations and certain pieces of legislation. But let's say that some fans, but not all of them, which we can't name, obviously, have taken a liking to Tree Hugger and even going as far as linking her to being a drug-crazed pony in link to historical events. Now, before I get on my high horse and pretty much start a fandom war, how many I've lost count I don't know, I just want to say that I don't appreciate the above portrayal of the character in terms of drug use. Now, while I even enjoyed and liked Tree Hugger as a fan and liked her personality and style, and I mean, who wouldn't, there is no need to start bringing out the illicit drug references and the weak jokes. Now, I might tolerate it a little bit if the show is aimed more towards the Cheech and Chong style of audience, but it's still technically a kid's show, and we don't need a situation where a kid or some pony sensible ends up trying to play copycat and consume illicit drugs to imitate the character, which could have some very disastrous results. Now, I grew up with the anti-drug message firm in my mind right from day one, and that was from the Bob Hawke years with the drug offensive, as a reference. And I acknowledge that my opinions are going to be different to some others. But if you want to portray Tree Hugger as a pony on the drugs to relive the whole experience in an historical sense, but that's fine. Whatever floats your boat or makes you happy. But just don't start rubbing it in other people's faces. Anyway, we also saw the return of the Grand Galloping Gala itself, the premier event on the equestrian calendar. Now, while I didn't see the gala the first time round due to entering the show at the end of Season 1 or a quarter of the way through Season 2, I had some idea on how it worked. Now, this edition of the gala also saw the first time appearance at the event for a few people, the Cutie Mark Crusaders being one of them, and I couldn't even help but channel my inner Vince McMahon, yes, I'm going in that direction, just for a little bit to say that the Phillyhood dream has come true. And it was true. I mean, the Cutie Mark Crusaders have been through so much over the years, and to finally see them come of age, and attend an event of this magnitude made me feel a bit proud. In fact, anything CMC related tends to get me a little bit warm and fuzzy at the best of times. Applejack couldn't even hold back the tears, and this is from a pony who says that she only cries on the inside. And she had a door moment when Apple Bloom showed off her dress at the Carousel Boutique. Rarity and Sweetie Belle showed off some sisterly love, and Scootaloo, well, she's Scootaloo. Although she didn't show any disapproval of going into the frou-frou and, that sort of territory. Now, meanwhile, on the pie side of the family, Pinky tagged along with her older sister Maud, although her mother Cloudy Quartz didn't want to go. Now let's go off a track for a little bit. The main point I want to bring up with Pinky's invite to the gala is a pretty important point. So why am I making a big deal out of this? Now, she said in the episode that she wanted to invite her mother, Cloudy Quartz, to the event, but she ended up taking Maud instead. Now, I know why she turned down the invite on her own terms. Now, I mean, you can't force someone to go to an event on their own will. But it begs the question on whether family relations with Pinky and her mother are a little bit on the shaky side after going into a different direction on what her mother wanted her to be. Now, we've only seen Cloudy on camera once, and that was during the flashback episode, the Cutie Mark Chronicles, back in the first season. And I have to say that on a personal level, that she is a great mother, apart from being on the strict side. And she is very lucky to have 4 daughters pursuing their dreams and goals in life. Now, as mentioned on the Maud Pie episode recap post last year, which is on the From the Exec blog and it's available down below in the video description, I mentioned that Cloudy Quartz had something to do when she brought up her daughters in a special way on that rock farm. So it would have been nice for Cloudy to go to the event with both Maud and Pinky, just to show that she still cares about him. I mean, come on, Cloudy. She's your daughter after all. Just to put aside any differences that you had in the past on that rock farm and live a little for once. You're their mother, for Celestia's sake. The episode also saw the return of the Smooze after spending 30 years, and his last appearance was in 1986 in the G1 original feature film in a storage can. Well, not really, it was shown off screen. He tagged along as Discord's guest, and it didn't take long before the Smooze ended up on the loose and got to his old tricks. As Howard Cosell will say, the Smooze is on the loose. Discord just unleashed a world of heck. As they say in the old days, no one can stop the Smooze once he gets going. Jewelry and gold were stolen, feeding the Smooze's power. Ponies ended up covered in his liquid goo. Outfits were ruined and things started to get a little too out of control. And poor Rarity, just like her grandmother in the 1980 series, ended up being covered in it. Her outfit ruined, and unfortunately she had to go buck. Now luckily though, Tree Hugger, at the risk of being sent into another dimension, tames Moose this time round with an enchanting chant to calm him down. And to be honest with you, I had a little bit of a hypnotising session when she did that as well. Whew. Now after all of that, this episode was a welcome addition to the sour taste that happened 2 weeks ago. And the addition of Tree Hugger as a fan favourite character made it all worth the while from start to finish. Now there were some other bits that I left out that I can't cover in this video due to time and space constraints. Obviously you can't upload on a slow ADSL 1 connection, and your Optus 4G connection is only limited to 5 gigs per month. But if I would certainly watch this episode again on the off chance, I would. Now that's if Discord doesn't drive me broke trying to throw my televisions and monitors out the bedroom window every time he has a temper tantrum. I mean, come on, I've spent thousands of dollars on televisions and monitors, and for the record, I didn't throw any out, thank goodness. So there we go. First episode back after a 2-week break, and fresh, no negative effects. The episode was perfect as it should be. And next weekend, we go back to Griffin Country. And that's going to bring a lot of memories back for a lot of people because of Gilda. If she's in next week's episode, I can guarantee there'll be a lot of Kentucky Fried Gilda jokes. Just as a joke, not the real thing. Because of one little incident back in the first season. So, fingers crossed for that. But for now, that should end this episode review. Thank you for your company. I hope to see you next weekend. But before I go, I'd like to clarify a few things. Now, the audio description videos are still on hold at the moment. We've unfortunately hit a snag with those due to a lack of popularity. They're still being made, but we're still reconsidering whether these videos should be uploaded, and I'll keep you guys up to date on that. And secondly, these review videos are not intended to be on Equestria Daily. After all, I'm not trying to get on there. These are more of a serious sort of review, apart from the fun stuff and the factual stuff. It's more like Jim Whaley and the Sunday program in the 80s and the 90s. And if you're a kid growing up in those days, you know what I'm going to be talking about. But until then, everyone, this is RJ saying thanks for your company. We'll see you next weekend.